and I want to thank you for joining me and supporting Paralyzed Veterans of America.
I joined the Navy to serve my country as a Navy SEAL. While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open. And I broke my neck. It left me paralyzed. Paralyzed Veterans of America was by my side from that moment on.
Since 1946, Paralyzed Veterans of America has kept a promise to our wounded veterans. We will never leave a fallen comrade behind.
Thanks to PVA, paralyzed veterans are getting specialized medical care and treatments, the benefits they've earned, the jobs they want, and the accessible vehicles and homes they need.
I just don't think my family would be as happy as they are without the support that I received from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Our veterans fought for us. Let's fight for them.
To learn more, go to pva.org today.
Anticipate potential delays for the morning commute. In other news, a recent government report on prescription drug pricing points to corporate malpractice.
Freedom of the press is about your right to know.
What are you talking about, man? Look at this stats.
It's about your right to be informed. Your right to access all types of information keeps us free as a nation.
No.
Today, there are real threats to press freedom.
Reaching residential areas by...
And your right to know about the world around us.
Look.
Some threats are obvious, some are easy to miss, but they all put our way of life at risk. We must defend against all of these threats, no matter what kind of news is important to you.
Justified putting American troops in harm's way?
That's a great question.
We must protect our right to know before it's too late. Understand the threats. ProtectPressFreedom.org.
Welcome back to Therapy Ain't No Joke. Welcome to the second half of the program. What you just watched was a previous episode of Therapy Ain't No Joke. Big shout outs to Shanta Hayes for coming on Therapy Ain't No Joke recently. Like I mentioned earlier, you can check out that episode and many more on our on-demand section under Deep Work Radio or on the Mental Space Show YouTube channel. But don't forget, while you're there, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Deep Work Radio, or you can subscribe to our other YouTube channel. We got so many platforms, ladies and gentlemen. There's no excuse to why you cannot access to shows like Therapy Ain't No Joke. But while you're there, make sure you become a subscriber to our YouTube channel. All right. Once again, for those who are just tuning in, this is Therapy Ain't No Joke. This is the show in which we talk about all things considered mental health in our community. And we also bring in some of our amazing guests to talk about their mental health journey. And before we go to our guests for the evening, I would definitely would love for you to send us a love donation to our Cash App, $Reach One Communications to support the content, or go to reachoncommunications.com and click on Donate Now. Your support will help us continue to air quality programming like Therapy Ain't No Joke and so much more. Joining with us right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke is a author of the latest book entitled Does Anyone See My Pain? For teenagers dealing with anxiety and depression. And this is a very big month for all things considered mental health and mental health awareness. I believe this is October. Of course, this month is October, Suicide Awareness Month. Such a very big deal, not just only in our community, but in all communities everywhere across the country. Did you know that depression is one of the most common mental disorders worldwide, and people aged 12 to 25 have the highest rate of depression? Did you know that? Depression and anxiety share some symptoms, including rapid and unexpected changes in mood. And once again, joining with us to talk about teen depression and more is author Eric Legette, joining with us. Good evening, sir. How are you doing? Welcome to Therapy Ain't No Joke.
Hey, good brother. How are you? Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Thank you for coming on, sir. I would ask you, just like I asked all of my guests, how is your mental health? But we've been having a bit of a struggle having you come on the show this evening. I don't know if it's fair to ask you that or not.
It's all good. It's all good. Right.
Yeah. But let me go ahead and ask you anyway, or let me just ask you again, how is your mental health?
It's fine. It's in a good space. I've dealt with depression and anxiety for over 2.5 decades, but it seemed like the older I'm becoming, the more I'm able to manage it a lot better than I did maybe 10 years ago. So I'm in a good space.
Good. So let's talk about that 10 years ago. Where were you 10 years ago in that space?
I can give you a perfect example. I've been dealing with a heart ailment since 2011. That's when I was 2013 when I was diagnosed with congenital heart failure. So I've actually had 9 procedures / surgeries in the last 11 years. Most recently, August the 12th. So August the 12th, I had another procedure. By that Thursday, I was experiencing complications. By the next week, I had to go to the emergency room because of the complications. So I was in the emergency room for 5 hours. I had to go through 2 rounds of EKG examinations. And it was a frustrating day, of course. You know, you're in an emergency room. But after the second round of the EKG, I walked out of there. Now, 10 years ago, Eric would have been depressed. Eric would have been, why is this happening to me? You know, so on and so forth. But now it's like my mindset was I walked out of here when there are other patients that was not, did not get the opportunity to just get up and walk out of their hospital bed. So it's been a gradual process over the past 10 years.
It's been a process. Yeah.
It's been a process.
Frederick Douglass once quoted, without struggle, there is no progress.
There's no progress.
Or no progress, I mean. Yeah, there is no progress. And it feel that way, like you had to mentally be prepared to go through the struggle in order to see some type of progress?
I had to. In order for me to be at this place, I had to go through a level of suffering to get to a place of gratitude. I still don't have everything that I want, but I'm grateful for whatever I already have. I had a massive heart attack 2 years ago while I was writing this book, and it almost cost me my life. But I still continue to push forward to complete this book. And this is some of the stuff that I talk about in the book, about using your coping skills to still propel you towards your goals and your dreams.
Let's pull up that book for one moment. I have it up on the screen here. Does anyone see my pain for teenagers dealing with anxiety and depression? We're going to take a deep dive into the book in just a few moments, but I would be remiss if I don't mention your accolades, of course, being the influencer, the statue that you are. Masters in education with a focus on teaching, learning, leadership. And in 2022, which wasn't that long ago, Eric, a resident associate at the National Humanities Center, researching the nurturing leadership approach in LA based on the leadership that you have provided throughout your professional career. You are One, not only as the founder of Fathers with Voices, which is a nonprofit that assisted non-custodial and divorced fathers obtain visitational rights and custody of their children between 1996 to 2016, but also as an elementary, middle school instructor and teacher assistant. I mean, we can go on and on and on with so many accolades. Where did that passion or that desire came from to be in the space to talk to people, especially to young adults? Where did that come from?
Well, that's very easy. It came from Mr. and Mrs. Legette. I watched my parents, when I grew up in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. My parents invested in a lot of people, especially young people. And it's very interesting that, when Facebook became very popular, many of those same young people found my parents on Facebook. So they were contacting them literally from all over the country and saying, thank you for this or thank you for that. So I think that just became ingrained in me. And I just, helping people, it just makes my spirit feel good when I know that I'm sharing something that can either help people overcome obstacles and hurdles or accomplish a particular goal. So I have to say, I have to thank my parents for that.
Very instrumental. I've heard so many times from young adults and from the youth that say that coming from a household where it's just a single parent there, whether it's just the father or the mother, and coming from whatever living conditions that they came from at that time, it made them into the person that they are to this very day because they didn't have the balance. They didn't have the nurturing and the mother and the father present to really shape them to being more productive in society and to go a different route or provide the guidance that they need in order to survive in the real world. But to you, it's different. It's different for you. So like going in. So I wonder, going in and talking to young people, teens, and young adults, because young people, they want to hear another person that can relate to them, right? So when you go to that space and you talk to young people, like what goes through your mind knowing that I'm going into a space talking to young adults, young people, and they may not have the same background as me? Like how do you prepare for that mentally?
Well, I take what was taught, what I was able to observe with my parents. The way that I have been successful at reaching young people is I make it about them. I'm not into, I'm not just into lecturing. It's like I have an initiative right now that I hope to be able to take to college and high schools across the country called More Powerful Than Depression. And that is going to be set up in a way where I'm not lecturing. It's going to be an interactive experience where I want to know from them what are the challenges and concerns of being a teenager or a college student today. And that helps young people open up more because it's like, they don't want someone lecturing them and telling them what to do all the time. I want to hear from them. That has been my MO, and it's been successful for me the past 25 years. So I'm not going to change. So the answer to your question is I make it about them. I want to know about them. And that has worked for me for the past, 2 decades working with young people.
Right. And that I can relate to. Keyword relate to is even I am put into spaces where I have to talk to young people that come from either similar backgrounds or different backgrounds. And I don't want to come off as a person preachy or telling them something that they already heard 1,000 times. Like, people
Right.
that from my world, we're
Right.
told to stay in school, get your education, get your
Right.
degree, get your college degree, stay out of trouble, and keep God
Right.
first, and go on and on and on, right? But
Right. Right.
in these times, that's not enough, because what happens when you do everything that you have done and that what you've been told to do, and you still find yourself in a state of depression?
Right.
Right?
Right.
You know,
It's well, what I would say to that is I've learned through this journey this word called perspective. An example to give a young person is, say, for example, they're crushed because they don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, or their boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with them. Perspective says, I still have I still have my friends that care about me. I still have my parents that care about me. I still have families that care about me. Or the college student that gets a D in chemistry, but they have a grade of 3 A's and a B in 4 other classes. Perspective says, I'm doing pretty good. You see what I'm saying?
right.
So these are some of the things that I think young people can grasp onto, on top of realities of life. Realities of life says life is tough. Life is unfair. Life is not promised to the young, just because you're young. These are some of the principles that young people should be introduced to, and that will help, take some of the blows that life would deal us when we feel like, we're doing everything we can, but. So, and it's like with depression, you have to have an action plan to follow to ward off those negative thoughts.
Got to have a plan in place. Absolutely.
You have to have a plan in place. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For those who are just joining with us, we have author Eric Legette, MED, of the book "Does Anyone See My Pain?" for teenagers dealing with anxiety and depression. I got to make a correction real quick. So September is actually Suicide Prevention Month. October is, if I'm not mistaken, there we go, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. October is. And that ties in, Eric, with depression and anxiety, right?
Right.
But what does that look like from whether it's from your experience, listening to other people's stories, or just from your observation? What does domestic violence look like for younger teens or younger adults? Because we always think, when we think about domestic violence, we think about more on the adult level, right? But we don't really talk much or think about it from a younger level, especially when it comes to teen dating and that sort of thing. So from your experience, if you saw it, like, what does that look like for you?
It's interesting that you bring that up. I actually was in a situation where when I was working in education. I'm a former educator, and I was working in education, and it was in middle school, where it was a young man and young lady dating, and he was beating her up. I mean, and me and the school resource officer, we had to sit him down to explain to him certain things about what it means to be a man. And, he didn't have a father in his life. And so with young people, especially young men, they have to be taught on how to treat a young lady, how to treat a woman. It's like I have 3 daughters. And if I could share this story real quickly, it falls in line. This young man called my daughter when she was in high school, and she wanted me to speak with him. And I got on the phone, and I said hello, and he said, well, I'm calling to just let you know I'm going to take your daughter. I'm going to pick her up for lunch from school. So I asked him, I said, are you asking me or are you telling me? He said, I'm just letting you know. I said, wow. Okay. So I said, it's like that. I said, all right. So I drove my daughter to take her to some type of dance, and he happened to be there. And I asked to speak with him, and I said, you never tell a girl's father what you're going to do with her. I said, you can't do that. And he said, I never heard that before, and he apologized. So it has to go on both ends. You know, the young man has to be taught, and young ladies have to be taught that the first time is the last time, you know? So both of them have to be educated at the same time.
But as a father, though, let me just, I guess, give a little bit of pushback, because we do have some fathers that are watching, right? And especially our protective fathers and our overprotective fathers, right? Because it could have went a different route. The father who could have been in your shoes when that young man said to you, well, I'm just letting you know, that father would have said, no, absolutely not. My daughter is not going to the dance with you. No. And if you call back again, there will be some consequences. Like what, I'm just thinking from what the other father's mindset would have been. So what made you want to go into that different route, though?
Well, here's the thing. Well, he didn't. Let me just clear it up. He didn't take my daughter to the dance. Okay, she just happened. I mean, he just happened to be there. They were not going, because I made sure of that. But the other side of that is, I wanted to make sure that he understood what he did was wrong. And so, no, they did not go to the dance together. I let him know if he wanted to take my daughter out, he had to come and meet me and the mother and ask the proper way. You know, my daughter is not a drive-by. We weren't going for that. You had to come to me man to man and say, you know, I would like to take your daughter out, sir, whatever have you. So, you know, I just wanted to clear that up. He happened to be there. She was not going with him. She did not go with him.
Because I'm thinking it would have been that scene from Bad Boys 2. You remember that scene when Martin Lawrence's character and Will Smith and that young boy, he was at the doorstep? I probably would have been that father. Like,
yeah. But you know, I had to be calm because my baby was watching me. So, you know, I had to be calm.
Right.
But I got my message across. He apologized. And I said, you know, it's fine. He admitted that. He says, no, nobody's ever taught me that. No one's ever told me that. So when somebody humbles themselves and say something like that, you can't jump on them, because what you don't know, you don't know. Okay. So I had a lot of respect for him for saying that. I just said, but in the future, you can't do that. So,
Right. Wow. Now let's stay on topic with anxiety and depression among teenagers. And what I find so fascinating is that we continue to have conversations surrounding mental health, especially on the show Therapy Ain't No Joke. And according to the CDC, mental health is an important part of children's overall health and well-being. And we all know that mental health includes children's mental, emotional, and behavioral well-being. It also affects how children think mentally, right? Feel and act. It also plays a role in how children handle stress, relate to others, and make healthy choices. And so with young kids today dealing with all different forms of mental health, including what we're talking about on tonight's show, anxiety and depression. Like, how do you look at young people and mental health today than maybe 20 or 30 years ago? Because, you know, we're in a different era right now, Harry. We have social media, which we talk about all the time. We have so many things that are giving young folks and youth more access to a lot of stuff than ever before. How do you look at that now compared to 20 or 30 years ago?
It's very simple. I mean, it was a motivation for me to write this book. When I started the process to write this book, and I came across all these articles in 2021 post pandemic about this increase in teen depression, anxiety. First, I saw the signs and the symptoms, and then I saw this long list of challenges and concerns that this generation has to deal with. So my first question was, what coping skills do they have in place? And that's the problem. I think this generation is not taught about coping skills. So 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't have to deal with the things that they have to deal with. Okay. So it's not to say that we didn't need coping skills. We weren't dealing with as much as what they're dealing with. They have cyberbullying. They have the traditional bullying. They have body shaming. They have the fact that education is 3 times more difficult than it was 20 years ago. So they're concerned about their academic performance. They're concerned about their safety in school. I mean, we didn't have to worry about going to school and worry that someone was going to come and shoot up our school and harm my friends and I. So I would just say that we have to do a better job at teaching them how to integrate coping skills into their daily lives. And that's what my book is all about. It's all about this journey of sharing with them how I have used coping skills to not only keep me from that dark space, but I've used it. You know, that book is a prime example because writing is my coping skill. So we see right there the visual example of how powerful a coping skill can be if you use it in a proper manner.
Well, do you think, because it's very hard at times to have these type of conversations, right? About we need to know, or we need to know how to instill coping skills in our youth today, right? Do you think though it's a matter of people just don't want to versus the how? Like, we know how to do certain things, right? We know how to turn on a car. We know how to make food in a microwave. We know how to do certain things, right? But when it comes to kids, because let's remember now, they were not asked to be born here. They were not asked to be brought here into the world. But do you think it's more so of just people, especially nowadays, that's not wanting to sit down and have a uncomfortable conversation with the youth today on how to navigate this new way of life that we're living in right now?
Well, I'll say this. It's forcing us that we have to, because in the schools across this country, that's what's happening. The counselors are overwhelmed, so they have had to implement ways on how to counsel these kids. They have implemented what they call mindfulness, which is the different meditation sites. It has forced us to address the fact that these kids is not handling stress properly. So it's up to the adults to inform these kids about coping skills, about ways on how to deal with stress. That's on us. Of course, they don't know. That's on us as adults. We have to take them to the side. That's why this book is so important to me, because the coping skills remains very valuable in my life. It's something that I use every day, because when you deal with depression, it's this daily mental battle that you're going through, where you're not allowing yourself to go to a dark place. So that's on us. That's on us, brother. We have to take these kids to the side and teach them how to, choose a coping skill that's going to help them deal with stress.
Yeah, yeah. So let's just break some of the statistics down. Let's just break some of the facts down. By the way, we're at the bottom of the hour. If you're just tuning in to the Mental Space with Sean Garvey, we talking to the man himself, the author of his latest book, and it's talking about teen depression. That's what we're here to talk about on tonight's show. Author Eric Legette, M.D. of the book, Does Anyone See My Pain? For teenagers dealing with anxiety and depression. Now, I want you all to stick around for more information on how you can get your copy of the book. But let's just break down some statistics and some facts here. So in 2024, major depressive episodes, 20.17% of youth ages 12 to 17 experienced at least one major depressive episode in the past year. Also, severe impairment, 15% of youth in the U.S. experienced an MDE that severely impacted their functioning at work, school, or even at home. And it goes on and on. Even gender, when it comes to gender, girls are twice as likely as boys to have clinical depression. That is alarming, especially if you have a daughter. Other mental disorders in 3 in 4 young people with depression also have another mental disorder. And let's not even talk about race. Children identified as more than one race have a higher rate of depression as well. So it's a lot of nuances in that, in those statistics and facts right there. What goes through your mind, especially as a person who experienced it, talk to the youth? What goes through your mind when you hear those facts and statistics?
Well, what goes through my mind is, as I said before, they are dealing with so much more than what I had to deal with 30 and 40 years ago. And so when you're taking on all of that pressure, I'll just say as an educator alone, they have made education 3 times more difficult on these kids than it should be. That's just my opinion. So the stress alone, like I've worked for after school programs, some of these kids' days begin at 6 in the morning. Then they don't get home until 7 o'clock at night. That's a 12 or 13 hour day. I can't imagine having that type of day in elementary school. I was blessed and fortunate that my mom was a stay-at-home mom until I got in high school. So it's like our school day 30 years ago was 8 to 3. So if you don't think that plays a role into mental health, then you're wrong. And then when I look at I think you said mixed race.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're giving me a PTSD moment. I'm out here in the South, and colorism in the Black community is horrible. So that is stressful, and it's been stressful for me coming from New York City and being born and raised when you are, it's a melting pot, okay, of different cultures, and then for me to come to the South and be identified everywhere I went, every job I've had, as light skinned. I mean, come on, man. I'm a grown man. I mean, this is not something that I should be hearing at my age. So yes, that does put a certain type of stress on you, because did you hear the comments? Life is better. It's going to be better for you because you're light skinned. It's been a real dumb experience over the past 20 years. And we're going to have to really address that. I know that's off topic.
Yeah.
But it does add to your level of stress. So I understand about the mixed race, because I'm not even mixed race, and I've dealt with it.
Right.
I'm African American,
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, we live in a society, in a world where people assume a lot. And it's not just what is so mind boggling, Eric, is that it's not just only teenagers, but adults as well, grown people that just automatically assume that you are this ethnicity or you come from this background. It could be just the way that you walk or your presentation or how you carry yourself, and people just automatically assume, not knowing that can play a major role in your mental health.
Yeah, it's like I just said, I've been dealing with it for 20 years. Literally, I have been dealing with. I left New York in 2005, and now I lived in New York, North Carolina, from 2005 to 2020, and now I'm in Virginia, and I still deal with it, and it's just dumb. I mean, it makes you angry. That's what it does. I mean, because it's like people make a judgment about you before they even have a conversation with you. And this is coming from your own people. That's the thing that's more hurtful, is that it's coming from your own people. So I understand about the mixed race statistic. It is what it is, bro.
Yeah. Speaking of comment section, let's go over to the comment section and see what they are saying. Shout out to Cynthia. She says perspective. You mentioned perspective a few moments ago. That's a great suggestion in that moment. Appreciate it, Cynthia. Yeah, it's all about perspective, especially as you get older. You start to realize it's more and more about perspective.
Right. And it's important for young people, like, you know, hopefully when I'm able to take this more powerful than depression in these circles with college students and high school students, that's one of the things I want to share with them, because it's very important that they learn the meaning of that word very early. So this way they can train their mind that in every bad situation, you can find some form of perspective in it. And this is part of the process of retraining your mind when you're dealing with depression.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for that comment there. It's all about perspective. I was about to say the mental space, but there being no joke, Sean Garvey with my special guest, Eric Legette, talking about teen depression, anxiety, and depression, all in the same class together, same boat. So let's talk about the book. Let's dive right into the book you have available right now. And it's a very telling book. Does anyone see my pain? What do you mean by that? What's the meaning behind the title alone? Does anyone see my pain?
Because I just think that a lot of teens are suffering in silence. And I think about my time as a teen. I spent a lot of time being sad when I think about it. But I had the best childhood that anybody could have, but I still spent a lot of time being sad. So, you know, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking of looking at the statistical data related to teen depression, and that's the title that came to mind. It's like, you know, they're literally walking around in pain. So it's like, is anybody seeing this? So that's where the title came from.
Does anyone see my pain? Suffer in silence. I hear that a lot. I've heard that a lot. Suffering in silence. It could come in so many forms when a young person is suffering in silence, and you know, not being in a safe space, or not feeling that comfort of going to their family or to their parents and telling them what's going on. And in some instances, they can take it out on the wrong people.
Exactly.
You can take it out on the wrong people or people that don't deserve it. And we've seen what happened a couple of weeks ago, Eric, especially here in Georgia. We talked about it plenty of times with school shootings, and not just to single out all the other school shootings that have happened over the years. Of course, this one is just as horrific as the ones that we have witnessed over the past years, and so when people suffer in silence, especially young people, Eric, like where does that, in most cases, where does that lead to in that person's space? Does it lead to like the depression in young people, the depression in teens? Does that need or lead to them to go into a path of wanting to gain access, if you will, to some form of gang affiliation, or wanting them to, go out and purchase a gun, or do something that they're not supposed to, or even more horrific thoughts about suicide. Like, what do you think in most cases? What do you think a young person's depression leads to?
It leads to many things: abusing drugs, abusing alcohol. They're connected to social media. How many times have we seen them getting involved with these kind of death-defying challenges on TikTok? The young man from Georgia that just did unfortunately the school shooting. I read a report where he said he had given up hope, and when you give up hope, you don't have anything left. So that's why it was not difficult for him to go and take someone's life, because he had lost hope. So that's why it's so important for this particular age group to become familiar with, okay, if you're stressed out, what are you going to do to relieve this stress? And that's why in my book, I put this long list of different forms of coping skills. There's, you have your short-term coping skills, you have your long-term coping skills, which means that, say, for example, a coping skill for me is picking up my bass guitar and playing it. I'll just sit there and play it while I'm watching TV. That's a coping skill. But if I'm in my car and I'm in a traffic jam, I can't play my bass guitar. But what I can do is I can go to my playlist, and I could put on something positive to listen to. So it's like you have to teach them that there are different forms and different spaces of coping skills that you can use. That's why it's such a point of emphasis throughout my book.
What you said was something interesting. I remember taking music courses in school, whether it was in elementary, middle school, and especially in high school. I took all courses. I took orchestra, I took band, I took piano classes. And they not only kept me out of trouble, Eric, but those courses challenged my brain. They challenged my mind to think critically, right? And so over the years, especially when the system, just using air quotes here, the system started taking musical courses out of the schools, that's when I saw a dramatic change in young folks, in young people. And in adults, and people don't know how music courses and musical classes, they don't know how much of an impact those courses have made to young people.
They don't.
Yeah. You want to explain that?
Well, I would say this, that's why they have something called music therapy. Music is therapeutic. And I was fortunate enough to be introduced to my first coping skill when I was 9 years old. And it was my bass guitar. And I wanted to, if I could give you the short version, my favorite aunt was married to my uncle, who was a military man. And in the late 60s, they were stationed in Germany. And it was around that time with this very popular gospel song named Oh Happy Day. came out. So when she came back over to the States, she continued to follow him. The artist's name is the great Edwin Hawkins, who's no longer here with us. And she found out that it wasn't just him. He had a whole family called the Hawkins family. And so she brought their records home, and I'm 9 years old. I just fell in love with the sound.
Right.
And my ears found the musicianship of this teen master drummer / bass guitar player by the name of Joel Smith. He was the nephew of Edwin and Walter Hawkins. Mm-hmm. So he played on all their records. I wanted to be him. So after another day of being teased, I was teased a lot growing up in Brooklyn, New York, because I was very fair-skinned and I had blondish red hair. So no one in my neighborhood looked like me, and every day somebody reminded me of that. So to deal with the pain, I come home, I cried out with my mom. She give me this speech about, until you accept yourself, no one else will. I do my homework, and then I would get on this stool that I'm looking at right now. I still kept that same stool, and I would go on the concert with the Hawkins family for 3 hours. That was my very first coping skill. And lo and behold, I taught myself how to play by ear. Nice. So now I could do something that no one in the neighborhood could do. So now my self-esteem has been raised, and I continue to just hone my skills in music. And that led to, when I was in my 20s, still dealing with the pain, still dealing with the scars, that led to me being offered a record contract to do house music. So these are some of the stories that I share in the book about how instrumental coping skills can be. And you're right with the music. Music is therapeutic, man. It's therapeutic, you know? And so when they took that out, it wasn't a good decision. It wasn't a good decision at all.
Yeah. I saw the positive and the negative impact. The positive impact that it has made on younger folks in the school system to learn how to play instruments and what it can do to your mental health and to your longevity. And the negative impact is taking something so special away from young, gifted people and only young people to just sports or to athletics or to other things that they may not have an interest in. So we definitely need to have more conversations on that. Let's do this. I want to take a quick break for a moment because we're getting ready to wrap up, and I want you to let people know how they can get your book in just a few moments. But I want to do this. We're going to go into a break real quick because for all of my people who are just tuning in and you're thinking that we're just only on Roku, we're not just only on Roku, ladies and gentlemen. We are now on Amazon Fire TV. So I'm going to switch over to our marketing strategist, Queen K, and she's going to break down on how you can watch Honey or shows like Therapy Ain't No Joke on Amazon Fire TV. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to have more with author Eric Legette in just a few moments, but let's swing things over to Queen K, and she's going to break everything down how you can watch Therapy Ain't No Joke and Honey on your Amazon Fire TV.
Hi everyone, my name is Queen K, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Honey. And I just wanted to take the time today to show you all how you're able to access the Reach One Network application on your Amazon Fire TV. So without further ado, let's get things started. All right, so we're here on the landing page for the Fire TV. We're gonna go ahead and use the voice command by searching by saying, Alexa, open Reach One Network.
Here's Reach One Network.
And we're here. So we have the live section, radio section, and video section. So immediately you see Honey. You can definitely tap in over to see what's the buzz there. Consistent 24/7 good stuff, content over there. As well as, like I said, the radio section. Here we have some great things for your listening pleasure. Just in case you want to listen into some things you may not want to, you might want to see anything. You want to listen And last but not least, we have the video section, which is a repository of all the wonderful content that has come up and things that will be airing very soon. So I'm very excited to see what you guys think. So take some time, go through each tab, and really just dig into the content here. And make sure you guys are rating us, and we're just happy to see you guys do this content. My name is Queen K, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, that was Queen K. Just wanted to take a moment to have Queen K come on and show you how to get Reach One Network on your Amazon Fire TV so you can watch us live on Amazon Fire TV. Therapy Ain't No Joke, and all of the other great programming that we have under Honey and our other cluster, Podcast FM 87, Reach One Network, and Beat Break Radio. It is 9 minutes before the top of the hour. We are still hanging out with author Eric Legette. Eric Legette, he is the author of the latest book as we continue to talk about teen depression and anxiety, all right? And the name of his book is right here. It's entitled, Does Anyone See My Pain? For teenagers dealing with anxiety and depression. All right. So any parent that is out there watching us right now, if you see these different things out of your teenager or out of your young adult, I would advise you and encourage you to please go seek a therapist or talk to your local school counselor. If you see the following things or the following signs, if you will: depressed, irritable, sad, or empty mood for at least 2 weeks, decreased interest or enjoyment in one's favorite activities and people, changes in appetite, eating too much or too little, significant weight gain or loss, sleeping too much or too little, physical agitation, fatigue or loss of energy, feelings of guilt or not being quote unquote good enough, decreased ability to concentrate, indecisive, unexplained aches and pains, and even recurrent suicidal thoughts or behavior. Seek immediate medical help if your teen express this. Anything that I left off, Mr. Eric?
No, that covers it. Yep, that covers it.
All right. That covers it. So please, parents, please take heed of those signs, those warning signs from your young adult, from your young child, from your young teenager, and go seek a therapist or a local counselor. We're going to have that information at the bottom of the screen there for anybody that need access to some assistance regarding mental health crisis. Let's go over to the comment section. Marion says, good topic. You definitely hit it right on the nail. Definitely. Thank you so much, Marion, for that comment there. Very great topic. So once again, Eric, book entitled, Does Anyone See My Pain? What else can readers get from the book?
They can actually get the book on Amazon.com and also on my website. I have an ebook version on my website named TalkTeenDepression.com. And it's a little bit less expensive as an ebook than it is as a paperback. So, it's available on TalkTeenDepression.com. I'm on most of the social media. I'm on TikTok. You Are Enough, Come Out the Dark. That's the name of the TikTok. I have so many names, so I had to write it down. Instagram is SayNoToDepression.com. So I'm on Instagram. Facebook, my Facebook page is Teen Depression and Anxiety. And finally, again, the ebook version of the book is available on TalkTeenDepression.com.
All right. Okay. And maybe on the next episode of Therapy Ain't No Joke, we will give our viewers and our listeners that information once again, just in case they didn't catch it the first time.
Okay.
So we'll make sure to get all that information from you and put it in our next episode of Therapy Ain't No Joke, because this is good information. We want people to connect with you online via social media. you know, and
Right.
get as much great information as possible. But most importantly, we want people to go out and support the book, and to just kind of quarterback regarding the book. What do you want people to take away from the book when they read it? Whether it's adults, young people, what do you want people to take away from it?
Well, from adults, they're gonna take away from it. I just want them to become better educated and aware of the signs and symptoms, so that they can physically be able to observe their teens and say, well, something's not right, and then they can act accordingly. For teens, it is a book that, in 3 words, demonstrates a young man that display focus, resiliency, and also perseverance. And all of that has come through God's presence, and also utilizing those coping skills to help me deal with and manage the depression and anxiety, so I can focus on being productive and utilizing the gifts and talents that God has given me to not only help myself, but to help others. And that's what teens are going to get out of the book.
All right, awesome. All right, well, once again, go ahead and give the people one more time information on how they can get the book one more time.
Amazon.com, and also talkteendepression.com, which has the ebook version, and they could download it right off the website.
Awesome information from the one and only Eric Legette right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. Well, Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show this evening. Your presence was definitely needed. And as we continue to have this discussion and conversation on teen depression, we got to do more. We have to do more.
So we have to do more
in the community to save as many young people as possible, and to really sit down and talk to our young people, and not just let the internet talk to them, but actually real people that are coming from a form of moral compass to sit down with them and talk to them as well. So we really appreciate it. And you keep up the great work that you're doing.
Thank you. Blessings, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I got to give you this information as you are watching Therapy Ain't No Joke. 988, that is the crisis and suicide lifeline. If you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis, even your young adult or your young teen may be facing some form of crisis or suicide or mental illness, please dial the number 988, not 911. This is the number that is opposite from 911. It's 988 if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis. You can also contact NAMI at 1-800-950-NAMI. That's 1-800-950-NAMI 6264. They are available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you can send them an email to info@nami.org. That's at nami.org for more information. And let's go over really quick because we do have one more comment. Shout out to the one and only the Jeffress Moody Show. What's going on, Mr. Moody? Big shout out to him. I was in and out because of multitasking, but great show as usual from Mr. Garvey, and one of the best guests ever with Eric. Two cats that actually care from the heart and not for the fame. That's what we all about, Mr. Moody. That's what we do right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And speaking of Mr. Moody, you can check out his show from, I believe, from 9 to 11 p.m. on Podcast FM 87, which is airing right now on our sister station, Podcast FM 87, on Amazon Fire TV and on Roku. I told you all, we're doing big things. So thank you so much once again, Eric. We really appreciate it. We gotta have you back on the show very soon.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Blessings.
That is the contact information one more time to contact the National Alliance for Mental Illness helpline. Please call 1-800-950-NAMI 6264 Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll send them an email to info@nami.org. or you can just simply call this number or dial the 3-digit number 988 if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis. Tune in next week. I have another brand new episode, ladies and gentlemen, and I just got to get something off my chest real quick, all right? And it ties into next week's show. We do a show about mental health and all things considered mental health, but we're going to tackle on next week's show, and I the thing I love about topics is that I'm the one that creates topics. So I'm not just only the host, but I'm also the executive producer, and I come up with all these interesting topics and stuff as it ties in with mental health. But there are people that just don't like you. There are people that will find something on you or about you that they don't like you, okay? And we're going to talk about that with another special guest that we have queued up and is willing to talk about it. You know, everybody just don't like you for whatever reason. I know that makes an impact in your mental health, but we're going to talk about that on next week's show. Plus, I do want to let you all know that I am going to be premiering another podcast. It's called Unemployment Check. Now, really quick before we end the show, Unemployment Check was supposed to be a scripted series, and we premiered the pilot 2 years ago. But I said to myself, you know what? This is so good. This is too good. This is too good to be more than just a scripted podcast series. But it needs to be a talk-based show. And when we do Unemployment Check, it's actually going to be premiering the day before November 5th. You know what November 5th is, right? It's going to air the day before Election Day. And it's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm going to get off my chest, all right? Because I know a lot of people are going to be tuning in and watching and listening to what I have to say, not just only from a mental health side or from a mental health side, but from an economic side as well, too. And it's coming, ladies and gentlemen. I will, because I know you all want to know. I will talk about my split from Odyssey, okay? I know I've been getting text messages and emails from people. They want to know my split from Odyssey. Okay, we're going to talk about that in the next couple of episodes. I'm not going to reveal too much, but we're going to talk about it, okay? All right, shout out to my special guest, Eric Legette, for coming on Mentals. Speaking of which, therapy ain't no joke. And for you, the listener, the viewer, for tuning in to Therapy Ain't No Joke each and every Wednesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. If you missed any of tonight's show, you can go to our YouTube channel, Beat Break Radio, or the Mental Space Show on our YouTube channel, or just simply go to Honey, and watch our archive shows there, okay? And once again, big shout outs to the one and only Jeff Moody, Mr. Moody himself. Big facts, that's facts. Yes, indeed. Go get you some therapy, all right? We out of here. Talk to you all next week. And we do have another episode of Soul Dates Live, by the way, too. I want to make sure I mention that as well before I get off, okay? Soul Dates Live next week, as well as Therapy Ain't No Joke. And we do have a brand new Deep Break Morning show coming in the next couple of days. Big shout outs to DJ Bo. All right, we out of here. Finally, take care, everybody, and make sure before we really close out, make sure that you and others stay in a great mental space. I'm out of here. See you all next week. Take care.
Freedom of the press is about your right to know.
What are you talking about, man? Look at this trash.
It's about your right to be informed. Your right to access all types of information keeps us free as a nation. Today, there are real threats to press freedom. And your right to know about the world around us. Some threats are obvious, some are easy to miss, but they all put our way of life at risk. We must defend against all of these threats, no matter what kind of news is important to you.
Justified putting American troops in harm's way?
That's a great question.
We must protect our right to know before it's too late. Understand the threats. ProtectPressFreedom.org.